Well, good afternoon and good night. Good afternoon for some of you and good night for some of you. Welcome to this webinar. It's the seventh webinar of a full series that we are running. Today we are going to talk about maximize feed stability with the right source of trace minerals. Narendra Venkatereddy will be your presenter for today. We have Alice Hibbert behind the scenes to answer some of your questions and to be some sports. So you will hear her at the end of the presentation. My name is Chantal van Lin. I'm going to be your host for today, and I'm going to highlight a few things before we get started. So if you can move the slide, Narendra, then it would be great. So Chantal van Lin, marketing content specialist within Feed Additives. We are more than happy to answer all the questions that you have. Please raise them via the GoToWebinar panel that you can see on your screen. We can see them come in. We will answer them during the webinar, but we also have a Q&A session after the presentation. So if you have any questions, please raise them and we will be answering them as soon as possible. Webinar will be recorded and available upon request, and the same goes for the handout. So after this webinar, you will receive an email where you can request the recordings and the handouts. So one last remark before we get to the real fun stuff, small disclaimer. Please note that all product names and claims mentioned in this webinar are generic and can differ from your own local situation. So please contact your local Selco or Trouw representative to discuss your needs and options within your own region. Having said that, so with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to Narendra, who's going to take you through his presentation.
Thank you, Chantal, for the nice introduction. As Chantal introduced, my name is Narendra Venkatereddy, and I'm the Global Product Manager for Trace Minerals. I'm working in Trouw Nutrition from last 2 years. So today's topic is maximizing feed stability by using a right source of trace minerals. So that's the topic for today. So, and agenda looks like this. So as you can see here, the feed stability and its challenges we are going to cover first. And then later we were going to talk about our solution, which is IntelliBond, how it helps in maximizing your feed stability. And we're also going to talk about some of the handling challenges at the same time, how it is better compared to other sources of trace minerals. We are going to address that. And also we are going to address how IntelliBond is better in terms of other inorganic trace minerals in vitamin and lipid stability. And we are also going to cover on the enzyme and probiotic stability while using right trace minerals. So, and finally, we are going to also give some take-home messages. So that's going to be agenda for today. And then we'll have some question and answer sessions, so which my colleague Alice will also address some of the questions during the session, and we will take up some of the questions at the end of the webinar. All right, let's get started with the feed stability and its challenges in my next slide. So which we talk about feed stabilities. So when we talk about feed stability, I think what we need to look into before that is when we look at that, the feed to food cycle, the pressure starts from at the beginning itself. So if you look at that pressure, especially from raw material procurement to bagging or even the feed mill, you are mixing, grinding, and even like conditioning or pelleting, all these are the beginning stages. So we need to pay attention at each stage, especially when we talk about feed stability. Today's topic is feed stability. So we want to pay attention on the feed stability, especially what are the right sources of trace minerals we should use to have better feed stability. So along with, we also take care of mycotoxins, we also take care of mold controls. So there are different kinds of feed safety and stability things. So along with that, right source of trace minerals also we need to use at the beginning itself, so that we can avoid challenges later. So here we are going to what are the challenges and how we can maximize feed stability through trace minerals. So I can read out this definition here, is formulating diets to meet mineral requirements of production animals is critical to maximize health and production efficiency. So the way that right source of trace mineral are handled and mixed in the feed mill is important to maximize feed stability. So first we are going to cover the right source of trace mineral, which we are going to use. What are the sources of trace minerals? We are going to cover that. And what are the challenges with different sources of trace minerals? And we are also going to talk about handling challenges. So what are the different handling challenges you get because of some hot and humid regions, especially maybe some of the customers may be also attending now from LATAM region where the conditions are hot and humid. Maybe some are attending from Asia, they also have hot and humid conditions. So how do you address that handling of trace minerals? Again, mixing. So mixing is also very important topic where, for example, a small amount of trace mineral we use. That's why we call trace minerals or minor minerals. So we chart it at low quantities, but it has to be uniformly mixed in the throughout the feed. So that is something we are going to talk about, these three things, and the challenges, what are the challenges, and through that, how can we maximize the feed stability? So that's going to be the beginning. We're going to talk about those challenges. Starting with the trace mineral sources. So if you talk about trace mineral sources, you all know that there are three different kinds of trace mineral. One is inorganic trace minerals, organic trace minerals, and latest technology was hydroxy trace minerals, which was found in 1990s by some researchers in US, and then 1995 the product was in the market. So what is the difference between inorganic trace minerals and organic trace minerals? Inorganic trace minerals and organic trace minerals, the main difference, one of the main differences, bonding. One is ionic bond, this has a covalent bond. And other one also, there are a lot of people talk about, is a carbon contain. Organic uh, products or organic trace minerals contains a carbon atom. So that's two differences we can talk about that. So when we look into inorganic trace minerals, so there is, it's a salt, so for example, copper sulfate is a salt with ionic bond. So what is this ionic bond? It is highly soluble, and also it can easily dissociate. As soon as it comes in contact with water, it can easily soluble, and it also gets dissociated. So when it gets dissociated, for example, copper sulfate, this copper will become ionic or reactive in nature. So it can interact, it can, or if it's interacting with bacteria, or it may be interacting with microbiota, so it can also has negative impact. So coming to organic trace minerals, so as I talked about, it has a covalent bond, and it also carbon, it's a carbon, it has a carbon containing a molecule. It can be soluble, it depends on what kind of trace mineral in organic you're using. There are proteinates, there are amino acid chelates, there are also propionates. So there are different kinds of organic trace minerals, but each has different kind of, some get soluble easily, some will not get soluble. So it is mainly works on the covalent bond. So that is one thing we need to pay attention. So it's then more carbon atom, it is the covalent bond is more important in the organic trace minerals. And coming to hydroxy trace minerals, the unique property of this trace mineral is it has covalent bond similar to organic trace mineral. So which is similarly, it has a kind of covalent bond which is organic trace minerals, which is a molecule which has low solubility, and it has low dissociation. Especially we are talking about feed stability today. Feed pH will be around 6.5 to 7, so it will not easily get dissolved, and also it will not get dissociated. So that's the advantage of hydroxy trace mineral. So I think in our previous webinars we covered how does it work. Maybe I will also, when I talk about solution part, I will give little more highlights about hydroxy trace minerals. So now today we are going to talk more comparing hydroxy trace mineral with inorganic trace minerals, especially the copper sulfate or zinc sulfate. So we are going to compare that. So here, for example, if you see here, there is hydroxy trace mineral is added to the beaker, which is having a water, which is low soluble and also low reactivity. Why? Because it is not going to dissolve or dissociate less than pH. And if you take copper sulfate, it is highly soluble as soon as contact comes in contact with water, and also it get highly reactive, so it will have negative interactions. So this is actually, we put this product into the water beaker, and after 30 minutes, as you can see, it's clearly dissolved in the beaker, but here it is not. So again, we wanted to see that then it doesn't it means that when we use IntelliBond, how does it work? How does it dissociate no this metal from the hydroxy molecule? So that is something we wanted to check. So then again, if you'll see in this slide, as we talk about solubility, the copper sulfate is in water. When we put in the water, no water, it may be the neutral pH. So it is after 24 hours, as you can see, it is almost 94.5% soluble in the water, and also in the acidic conditions at 2.2 pH for 1 hour, you can see 98.3%. It is getting dissociated or dissolved. You can say solubility. It's a dissolved. And hydroxy trace mineral, here you can see it is only 0.6%. It is actually gets solubilized when at the water after 24 hours also. And if you look at this one, at the acidic, it is 76.7%. It's actually got dissolved. And same with the zinc sulfate, it's almost 100% soluble in both water and also in the acidic. But here it will not be soluble in the water, but it's in the gastric conditions, it gets solubilized. So this is a key difference where you can see it gets solubilized, and it is, especially if you talk about poultry, especially in proventriculus and gizzard region, it has low pH, and before going to duodenum, the metal gets released, and then the transport proteins will take that metal into the bloodstream. Okay, so now we talked about different sources of trace minerals. Now, what are the right sources? We talked about hydroxy trace minerals is a better form of trace mineral in terms of solubility. So that's a good thing. And coming to handling challenges, we initially in the first slide, we covered about the handling challenges, next point, where we talked about the physical characteristics, right? So especially if you look at copper sulfate, some of the customers, these pictures are taken at some of the customers' place. And as you can see, the zinc sulfate and copper sulfate, it's having a lot of clumps. Why this is clumps? This is because of hygroscopic nature of the product, because it absorbs water. As soon as it absorbs water, it can become clumpy. And this is hydroxy copper, and also it's hydroxy zinc. As you can see, the look and feel of the product, the physical properties of the product, it is not clumped. It is very uniform, homogeneous product, and also it can easily mix well in the feed or in the premix. So it's all started with an observation at the customer place. So this is the challenge. So we need to see how we can address this handling challenges is because of hygroscopic nature. So this is something we need to address with hydroxy trace minerals. And next thing we talked about mixing challenges. So mixing challenges is something, for example, if we talk about animals only require trace amount of mineral to fulfill nutrition requirements. For example, I am giving a Ross 308 broiler eats 15 mg of zinc in the first week of life. So that, how does it look like? It's just a small particle in your fingertip. So it looks like that. And yeah, and how much it required for 42 days? It's 0.5 gram of zinc for whole 45 days often. I can give one more analogy also here. Maybe I can talk about how does it look like. It looks like a small staple here. And for example, if a newly hatched chick will consume around 20 gram of feed per day during first week of life. So 1 metric ton of feed will provide 50,000 individual meals. So that means we need to, for example, we are giving first week, we are giving 15 milligrams. So it has to distribute throughout the feed. So how do you manage that to distribute throughout the feed? So that's a challenge, right? So uniform distribution of this trace minerals has to reach all the feed particles no, and almost all the feed, and so that all the animals will get it, so that every animal will get, so they will be having good performance. Otherwise we will have errors in that. Some animals will get more trace minerals, as you've seen, clumps, and some animals will get, there are no less minerals, so that you will get a performance challenges, especially when you're using inorganic trace mineral. So as we talked about hydroxy trace mineral, so this has a good mixing capabilities, so it can no address this mixing challenges also with hydroxy trace mineral. So these are three challenges we covered here. So trace mineral even distribution is the key when we are talking about mixing. So what will be the impact when use sulfate or inorganic trace minerals? For example, zinc sulfate, if you take, so it becomes zinc separate and sulfate separate when it comes in contact with the water or moisture. So what will happen? So this will degrade the other feed components. So for example, maybe fats or vitamins, even some of the additives like like probiotics or even enzymes. So it will have some kind of impact on degradation on that. And reduces palatability. So we have seen also observed whenever we give hydroxy trace minerals, because of good palatability, animals are having a good feed intakes. So that's also something we observed in different species. So, but when you give this copper sulfate, so you'll have reduced palatability. And when you use copper sulfate, it also, because of the ionic nature, and it becomes more reactive, it also interacts with other antagonists, which will have negative effect on the animal. So that is also something we need to pay attention. So again, one more, this is especially in ruminants. It also, when you use copper sulfate, because these metals become ionic and reactive, so it also decreases fiber digestibility. It acts on the microbiota so that there will be less fiber digestibility, which we can observe in the ruminants. So these are some of the negative impacts when used, especially inorganic or sulfate trace minerals. So this is something I wanted to cover till here. Then what comes is, we talked about hydroxy trace minerals. What is that hydroxy trace mineral? So let's talk about that, what the solution we have in Trout Nutrition. So this is our solution is IntelliBond, which is a hydroxy technology. So this hydroxy technology, we have three products. One is IntelliBond zinc, IntelliBond copper, IntelliBond manganese. So which is having high metal potency, as you can see here. And look at the look and feel of the product. It's so beautiful. It is actually no, each particle, it's called, we call it as an opticized particle, which is around, you can say 150 micron size is opticized particle, which has a lot of crystals in it, which is highly uniform sphere and essentially dust free, which is non-reactive, non-hygroscopic, and it also uniformly blend and mix well in the feed and premix. So this is about the physical properties of the product. What about the chemical properties of the product? When you talk about chemical properties of the product, so the structure will look like this, which is a having no hydroxy surrounded by the copper or metal, like maybe zinc, so which has a covalent bond similar to organic trace mineral. So as I talked about that, it is mainly works on pH, especially less than 4 pH. This releases the metal into the system. As soon as it comes in contact less than 4 pH, it starts releasing slowly. So as you can see, that it's like a lollipop effect where it slowly releases, and which will get into the bloodstream by through transport proteins. And it is, there's a lot of crystals are embedded in the optisize in one particle. So it's called optisize technology we have, which is a patented technology. So as I already covered, it has high metal potency, low product solubility at neutral pH, which I talked like water, which is very stable because the pH is more, and it'll, because of its size, it will also not get dissociated there. And also we talked about minimal reactivity because of this unique physical and chemical characteristics. It will not react in the feed. So that is advantage for us. Its feed will be more stable, and the structure allows slow release in the lower GI tract. So in the GI tract, it will have slow release, as we talked about lollipop effect. So which we covered in the previous webinars also, this mode of action, everything. All right, now today we are going to talk about especially IntelliBond has a lot of benefits. As we've seen, one of the thing is solubility. It is not soluble in the feed. It is only soluble in the lower GI tract, especially in the low pH, less than 4 pH. So which is good for the animal, and also it has unique value propositions like bioavailability and also palatability, as you can see, and also its digestibility and also stability. So today we are going to talk about mainly on the stability part. So I'm going to cover the stability part. What are the advantages and how we can address some of the challenges we addressed initially. So that one on the handling characteristics and also other additives on the nutrient stability of the other additives. And we also have the traceability and quality systems. We follow strict quality systems in the manufacturing of IntelliBond. So we follow the traceability guidelines. Coming to in the stability part, we are going to cover 3 topics now. One is handling characteristics, how it will be beneficial with some supporting data on that. And also we're going to cover nutrient stability, especially in the vitamin and lipid or fat stability. And we are going to cover enzyme and probiotic stability, how it is beneficial when you use IntelliBond compared to copper sulfates or any sulfate forms. So first, let's start with the handling characteristics. So we covered in the beginning, it all started with observation of customer place. As you can see here, the control group, this has one, you can see mix of, it's a organic and inorganic combination. So as you can see, we used here 3 ppm of organic copper and 8 ppm of copper sulfate, 8 ppm of organic zinc and 30 ppm of zinc sulfate, 5 ppm of organic manganese, 21 ppm of manganese sulfate in the control group. So this is inorganic and organic combination. And also sometimes some of the customers will use different sources also sometimes. So they may use oxide, sometimes they use hydroxy also, sometimes they have organic also. So this one, this combination here use hydroxy, organic and also inorganic combination. So it is slightly less clumps compared to control groups. And look at this mix. This mix has only IntelliBond products in it, in this mixture. So where you can see it's very good mix which has no lumps, as you can see here, which is clearly having better physical properties. So premixes containing a combination of sulfate and organic trace minerals have more clumping issues. So this is something we need to pay attention while making premixes. Other thing also, we observed that during sieving, we also found that in the control group, when we mix inorganic and organic combination, we see this kind of a big lumps is happening. And when you look at the IntelliBond mixture, which is it's very good in the physical properties, and there is no clumps we can see in this mixture. So why these clumps are happening? These clumps are happening mainly because of one specific characteristics of sulfates, which is hygroscopic nature. So what is hygroscopic nature or hygroscopicity? This hygroscopicity is the capacity of the product to react to the moisture content of air by absorbing water vapor. So for example, as we take a copper sulfate, so as you can see here, we have taken 3 different samples. One is limestone, control premix, and IntelliBond premix. Here, because copper sulfate is ionic in nature, as soon as it comes in contact with water, it absorbs water and try to become ionic in nature. So here we actually what we did is this is the weights of the samples. We have taken 3 samples: limestone, control premix, and IntelliBond premix, and we put this in the jungle room. We call it as a jungle room, where for 24 hours in the moisture and relative humidity and temperature. So where we can see that here, these are the weights, additional weights it got, which is almost 6.71% increase in the weight in the control premix. So anyway, limestone is a control group. So this one having a control premix where inorganic and organic combination, where it has 6.71% increase in the moisture or weight in that product. So in the IntelliBond premix, only 1.44% you can see additional weight, which is absorbed as a moisture. So this shows that this product is less hygroscopic and also having better physical characteristics. So we covered now the clumping and handling of trace minerals with hydroxy trace minerals has a better advantage on the sulfate trace minerals. Now we are going to talk about vitamins and lipid stability, especially the nutrient stability part, how hydroxy trace mineral or IntelliBond trace mineral works better and gives better stability over copper sulfates when you're using in the feed. So that is something we are going to cover here. Vitamins and lipids contain unsaturated carbons susceptible to oxidation and sensitivity to their environment. So feed processing like premixing, it may be pelleting or even maybe conditioning, so improves nutrient distribution and digestibility. However, these processes are harmful to vitamins and lipids which are easily oxidized. So what are here covering here? Reducing agents, we call it as reducing agent has vitamins and lipids, and oxidizing agent has metals like copper and zinc. So when it comes in contact with these vitamins and lipids, whenever these metals, so it gets oxidized. So which will result in less stability of these vitamins and lipids. And also it will degrade slowly. So to test that, what we did is we actually taken some vitamin premix and stored it for 6 months, and we tested for vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. As you can see here in the vitamin only, this is a vitamin premix where you can see the vitamin retention, or you can say vitamin, the drop here as it goes towards gradually towards 4 to 5 months. So it starts slowly losing vitamins. It start degrading. So in the only vitamin premix, especially vitamin K has more loss or degradation. So when we mix these vitamins with inorganic trace minerals, as you can see here, there is a dip, sudden, and also you can see within 2 months or 3 months, you can see a lot of degradation of this or oxidation of these vitamins are happening in the early part of the months itself. If, for example, if you are a feed miller, if you want to store feed or a premix for a longer duration, then you will, when we mix this, or even premix, for example, if you're making own premix, if you want to mix and store it for a long time, you will lose the vitamins, as vitamins are one of the expensive ingredients we add in the diets. So what you get lost in terms of economic loss, we will have impact on this. And also these vitamins animal will not get it, which will also have negative performance on the animal. And even trace minerals also will antagonistic properties. Because of that, we will have less mineral getting into the animals. So then you find challenges with that. So here we just compare, it is on the percentages. As you can see here, 1% vitamin E loss and only in a vitamin premix. Vitamin and trace mineral premix, there is 12% vitamin E loss. Here 4% vitamin D loss, here 14% vitamin D loss. And here you can see 5% vitamin E loss. This is 16% vitamin E loss. And as you can see here, 19% vitamin K loss, here 39% vitamin K loss you observed in the 3rd month on average we're talking about. So this is the impact, this much you were losing money on even vitamins when you're using this kind of mixes. So now we also wanted to test this, we want to check that with different sources of trace minerals. This is one of the published literature in the public domain also it's available. So this is just as you can see here, this is one is chelated one, and other one is oxide form of trace mineral, and sulfate form of trace mineral, and free metal are used with four different vitamins. Like chelated one has, you can see there is a drop in the vitamin levels, as especially here also you can observe vitamin K levels has a drop when you store it for 6 months. And when you look at oxide forms, which also less than chelated or organic trace minerals, but yeah, this is also having a drop here. But when you look at the sulfate trace minerals, it has huge dip or significant dip in the vitamin degradation or vitamin levels. So the retention of vitamins will be very low. When we use free metals, again, free metals has more than, because of its ionic or reactive nature, it has more loss compared to all other forms. So as we are talking about sulfates, it has more loss compared to other sources. So now we wanted to test that with the IntelliBond. So IntelliBond also, as we want to check that in the feed as well as in the animal. So what we did is we taken here just this is on eye levels, which we are talking about on the ppm levels, but it also applies in the nutrition levels. So here three groups you are taken. One is control group, other one is copper sulfate, and the other one is IntelliBond C group. So here control group has some drop in the vitamin E levels, as it's because naturally also when vitamins are exposed to air and environment, so it will have some losses. But when you use copper sulfate, as you can see here, it is 24% drop in first 10 days and 69% drop in 41 days. After that, like if you use IntelliBond, as you can see here, 36% better in the 10 days period, and also 3x better compared to copper sulfate in 41 days. So which shows that it is very good product to use in your feed hydroxy trace mineral or IntelliBond to maintain or retain your vitamins in your feed and premixes. And here also we checked this with the plasma levels, vitamin E levels, where we compared it this one with the copper sulfate with IntelliBond, and we can see here there is 11% IntelliBond is 11% better retention or better levels compared to copper sulfate in the plasma vitamin E levels. Now we are going to compare here also another study here at 300 ppm level. This is very high levels, but still, as you can see in this data also, feed vitamin also here, it is copper sulfate. As you can see, there is drop here as in the 20 days, you can see a drop here, and IntelliBond has in 10% rise in first 10 day or it's better retention compared to sulfates in the 10 days, and 27% better retention after 20 days. So this shows that it is also stable in the feed. So again, next study also confirms that. And again, we checked that in the plasma, also vitamin E levels, which is, you can see 14% better in the IntelliBond group compared to copper sulfate group here. And also here in the liver vitamin E levels also we checked, 18% is better vitamin levels compared to copper sulfate group in the IntelliBond group. This shows that vitamin stability in the both feed and also in the animal, it is actually better retention of vitamins will be there when you use hydroxy or IntelliBond trace minerals in your feed or premix. So we talked about vitamin stability, and now we are going to cover the lipid stability. So lipid is nothing but fat or fat or lipid. So that is something usually some of the diets we use oils and fats also. Naturally, also there are a lot of raw materials which has fats in it. For example, if you take layer diets, it has 3.5 to 4% fats in it already. And broiler diets, we also add additional oil of depending on region to region, oils and fats. So these also a expensive nutrient we use. But at the same time, it should not get spoiled or degraded or oxidized here. So we can measure these lipid or fat stability in two values. One is peroxide value, which is a lipid degradation, and the anisine value, which is a peroxide degradation. So here mainly we want to compare here on the fine copper sulfate and the coarse copper sulfate with the IntelliBond copper. If you look at the particle size of the fine copper sulfate, which is going to be around 12 micron size, and if you talk about coarse copper sulfate, which will be around 455 micron size. Look at the variability. This one has 12 and this one has 455, and you don't know what kind of source you are getting when you're using copper sulfate, because there are a lot of variability in that coming from different places. So, and no, you are using different sources. There is no consistency of the product. So that is challenging. And mainly coming to this topic on lipids stability, the lower the particle size of copper sulfate, it will have more lipid peroxidation or lipid degradation will happen. So that we can see in some of the data. And this is some of the things which is like our IntelliBond, which is the particle, the crystal structure, which has around this kind of particle size, and which will be having less than compared to coarse copper sulfate, and also it is little higher compared to the fine copper sulfate. So here again, this is some of the data which we talk about peroxide value. As you can see here, this is something I wanted to cover here. When we use coarse copper sulfate, which will have more peroxidation. So this is when you use IntelliBond, which will actually reduce this peroxidation because of significant effect of particle size and oxidation of copper sulfate. Is likely that large particles of IntelliBond would promote oxidation much less than an equivalent size of copper sulfate. As you can see, there is 66% here and peroxidation, and also 65% increase in the peroxidation in the fine copper sulfate. On average, it is around 63% less secondary lipid peroxidation compared to fine copper sulfate, so which IntelliBond had. So this is something also we need to pay attention. So we talked about vitamin degradation or oxidation, where hydroxytrace mineral helps in better retention of vitamins. We talked about lipid or fat stability, where it helps in less peroxidation in the animal diets. Now we are going to cover here on the enzyme and probiotics stability. So we all know that one of the enzyme commonly used is phytase. Phytase is an enzyme that can degrade a phytate. So as you can see here, so this is the phytate here. So and phytase will act on it, and it releases mainly the objective is used to release available phosphorus, and also at the same time it also releases some of the attached protein or iron or starch or inositol along with that. So usually it is used in 90% of the poultry diets and also 70% of the swine diets. So yeah, phytate, as I talked, it is a storage of phosphorus in plant tissues. So now we wanted to compare how it has effect on inorganic, especially sulfates, has effect on phytase or enzymes. So this is something we compared with IntelliBond and copper sulfate. So the phytase retention is 17% better compared to copper sulfate group. So this is very important. We need to pay attention here. Why? Because maybe a lot of phytase also companies will give on the matrix values. If in case because of ionic nature of the sulfate, if it acts on this phytase and it degrades, it doesn't release the available phosphorus, and you need to adjust your matrix. So that will have no impact on that. So by using IntelliBond, so you can use as matrix file is given by the company, which will have better retention of phytase in the feed. And this is also something I wanted to cover here on the different sources of trace minerals, especially on the copper. One is the here copper citrate. This is an in vitro study which was done in the US, where we taken different sources. One is copper citrate, other one is copper chloride, and other one is copper lysine, which is organic trace mineral, and this is the copper sulfate, and this is IntelliBond copper. And these are tested at different ppm levels of copper, especially 0 ppm, 62.5 ppm, 125 ppm, 250 ppm, 500 ppm. Maybe we may not be using 500 ppm, but just for our experiment purpose, we used at that levels also. And as you can see, the phosphorus release and the control, because we not used any copper here, which we have taken as a relative comparison with other levels, where you can see when you increase the copper levels, the relative phosphorus release is decreasing, especially in citrate, chloride, and copper sulfate forms. You can see significant reduction in the release of phosphorus. But you can see in the organic trace mineral, it is actually release is better, but you can use organic trace minerals, it is going to be expensive. So hydroxy trace minerals having a better phosphorus release also, and also which is price wise, also it is competitive to use in your animal diets. So this is copper inhibits the efficacy of phytase. Higher concentrations cause more inhibition. Improved sources of copper prevent this due to their lower release of free metal ions. So we talked about enzyme stability. Now we are going to cover on the probiotic stability. So probiotics, there are again, this probiotics are used in different regions and different on different companies. There are a lot of different ranges of probiotics, so which we can talk about that later. But before that, when we talk about copper or zinc sulfate, so as soon as it comes in contact with the moisture, it becomes ionic or reactive, and it start acting on microbiota. One example I can give in the dairy or any ruminant or dairy farms, where you can see in the cow food path they use copper sulfate as a food path. And also if you look at the hospitals, they also use the door handles as a copper because of its antimicrobial properties, because it becomes free metal ions which are antimicrobial in nature. Coming to stability part, probiotic stability, as you can see here, we did two studies. One, as you can see, one is in vitro study. This is the in vitro study, and again, I'm going to cover on the in vivo or ex vivo study also. So this is something, copper and probiotics are added to the growth media for 2 hours, then plated. You can see the results here. We tested at 50 ppm levels of both copper sulfate and IntelliBond copper, and also 150 ppm levels with 4 different species of good bacteria, which is commonly used as a probiotics. So which is Bacillus subtilis, 2 species, and Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium, where you can see IntelliBond used group has better survival rate compared to copper sulfate, both at 50 ppm and also 150 ppm. So IntelliBond results in improved probiotic survival compared to copper sulfate in the in vitro conditions. And this also applies in our feed condition because of opticized particle, which we talked about, and it doesn't come in direct contact with the microbiome, or maybe you can know probiotics in the feed because it's covered with opticized starch with the metal. So it is also, and also it's not soluble and dissociated, it's not ionic, so it will not interact with any probiotics. But so copper sulfate, as soon as it during pelleting process or feed processing process, in the even upper GI tract, as soon as comes in contact with saliva, so also in digestive juices, so it will interact, it becomes reactive, and it starts interacting with the this good bacteria, so that it will reduce survival rate. Probiotic stability, this is on the ex vivo or in vivo study, which we talked about. So this is also we have taken here. We are given animal with 0, 125 ppm, 150 and 200 ppm for the chickens for 2 weeks, and then gut contents were removed and mixed with probiotic for 2 hours. So contents were plated and counted for percentage of inoculum surviving. So let's see the results of these inoculum from duodenum, jejunum, and ileum, which is plated in the these plates. So when we look at the duodenum data here also you can see IntelliBond is having a better survival rate of probiotics compared to copper sulfate, and jejunum also it has better survival rate, and also in the ileum also it is having a better survival rate. So one we talked about in the feed, and also we are talking here on the animal also. This is having better survival rate, all these probiotics. So this is really good for any feed producer to pay attention to whenever they're using this kind of expensive additives. So it also gives the stability for those kind of additives. So IntelliBond C results in improved probiotic survival versus copper sulfate ex vivo. So finally, I want to take you through the take-home message, a few of the points which we already talked about. I want to give a summary of that. So weak ionic bonds from sulfate trace minerals causes solubility and dissociation of metal when exposed to moisture. So it may be pellets while pelleting or conditioning, or even in the upper GI tract. So these free metals are pro-oxidant and accelerate oxidation of even lipids, fats or lipids or fats, vitamins, and also enzymes. IntelliBond formulated premixes have less clumping and better manufacturing feeding attributes. This could lead to less manufacturing errors and consistency of nutrient delivery to the livestock. IntelliBond prevents degradation of vitamins and fats compared to copper sulfate. So which we already talked about that with showing supporting data on that. IntelliBond C results in improved enzyme stability, especially we talked about phytase stability in the feed compared to copper sulfate. IntelliBond C demonstrate increased probiotic survival compared to copper sulfate in vitro and also ex vivo. So with this, I would like to thank you for your patient listening. Now I am happy to take up some questions.
Thank you so much, Narendra, for your presentation. I'm looking at my screen. We have one question for Armando. And in the meantime, we have still time to answer more of your questions if you have them. So feel free to use the panel to address them. So Armando is asking, do you have information on bioavailability of inorganic versus IntelliBond?
Yes, we have actually 200 plus of scientific studies of IntelliBond. So which is really good research we have made on the IntelliBond. Yes, we have a lot of data on that. Even comparing with organic trace minerals also, we have a lot of data on the bioavailability and performance data. You can share that. Kindly share your details. We can, on the bioavailability part, as mainly we talk about the mode of action of IntelliBond. As I talked about the opticized particle, which has a crystalline structure, which actually dissolves in less than 4 pH, and also the metal get released in that less than 4 pH from hydroxy the hydroxyl ligands. So these metals are again the transport proteins will get this metal into the bloodstream. Usually it's a normal physiological process. If any metal if you give to the animal, it will actually has to first it has to dissolve, and again it has to be dissociated, then animal has to take that into the bloodstream through transport proteins. Each metal has different transport proteins, so that depends on zinc or copper or this one. So it's specific, so it will take that protein metal into the bloodstream. So that's how these work, and which results in performance, better performance if more metal in the bloodstream. So there will be better performance. So we have data for that, animal data, so we can share that with you if you share your details.
Yeah, I will make sure that those details are coming your way, Narendra. No problem.
Yep.
Any other questions? We still have a few minutes on the clock. Just looking at my screen. Well, I think everything was clear and we answered them the questions already. So I think we are good to close off this session, Narendra. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this webinar. Thank you for attending. I hope to see you in the next editions as well. If you are interested in the previous sessions, then please let us know. I can make sure that you get the recordings from those as well. If you have any questions popping up in the coming days, feel free to contact either one of us or your local sales representative to make sure that we can help you answering that question. Narendra, oh, I see one coming in.
Yeah.
Octavo, in ruminants, there are studies showing increased digestibility for IntelliBond compared to sulfates. What are your thoughts regarding the microbiome?
Yeah, we have actually a lot of data in ruminants, especially on the NDF digestibility. So, which is actually we have the even meta-analysis of that. So, which helps in better NDF digestibility when you use IntelliBond trace mineral compared to copper sulfate. So, we can share that data with you if you want to go through in detail of that. Because one of the copper sulfate you can use, but because of its reactive nature, especially in the rumen, it acts on the microbiota. So microbiota is very important in the rumen, so which will have negative impact on that microbiota. So the digestibility will have an issues. So by using hydroxy, you can also improve the NDF digestibility in the ruminants. So we can share more information on that. Yeah, if you can share your details.
Okay, Alex is asking a question. Do you usually recommend 100% replacement of inorganic trace elements, so trace minerals?
Yeah, ideally, I would say that you should use 100% replacement, because as we talked about, so many negative effects of inorganic trace minerals, which will have a lot of negative effects. At the same time, it is also expensive nutrients you're also getting lost. So with little upfront cost, you can actually get a better ROI with IntelliBond, even compared to organic trace minerals also, and also inorganic trace minerals. Also, it may look cheap, but it will have a lot of negative effects. At the same time, no, it will also lose your money on vitamins and fats and probiotics, which enzymes, so all these things.
Thank you so much, Narendra. Looking at my screen, looking if there's something else coming in. No. Okay. Well, thank you for these extra questions. Thank you for answering, Narendra. Again, feel free to reach out to us when you have any questions in the coming days, weeks, or months. And then I'm going to say goodbye. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hope to talk and see you all very soon. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.